the first podcast episode of Victory and Defeat. My name is Mckittens, or I guess we're going by our real names now. So my name's Nate. Nate Mckittens. I'm joined here by Milienius, who is having some technical issues right now. So I'll let him introduce himself on the Ring Central.
So, hi, yeah, I'm Chapel Brock. I'm Chapel Brock, the other half of your hosts. I also go by Millennius. You may know me that way through a couple of social media. I do apologize for any issues on my end. The Wi-Fi has been out at my place since this morning, and that means that I am hotspotting in to try and make this work. So it's been all sorts of fun trying to hammer this out.
So yeah, we've been we were delayed a little bit, and then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, by the way, my Wi-Fi is kind of cut out, so we're gonna be just trying to shoehorn this in here. But yeah, so for tonight's topics, we're gonna be talking a little bit about kind of our reflections over the weekend. I'm gonna be covering a little bit about what I think Boston Uprising should do at this point along the season. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a closer look at the Phillies Glad games, which that was actually pretty exciting. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see all of it because somebody decided to kick me out of his place. So, yeah.
I was sad. Leave me alone.
It was sad. Leave me alone. And then we're going to talk about some other topics, what we think is going to happen this weekend. I think you could also talk a little bit about the Chengdu, Chengdu Zone, and kind of
the Chengdu Zone, yes.
Chengdu Zone, and thoughts about the playoffs in general and kind of the overall state. So, kind of reflecting over what happened this weekend. Let's start off with why don't we go right into that? Why don't we start off with the Philadelphia Glads game, which was kind of interesting because it started off what I thought was going to be just a 3-0 sweep all across the board the entirety of the day. But somehow they managed to pull it off on that.
Yeah, on the one hand, it is a good thing that it wasn't a day of 3 Overwatch, but on the other hand, it is disappointing because Philadelphia, if anyone was 3-0ing, it should have been Philadelphia. And it just, honestly, I think it was the Gladiators meta. We'll talk about it in a little bit more detail. But if anything, I'm just glad that it was certainly an entertaining match. It wasn't just a blowout like, I don't know, the Titans and the Shock.
Yeah, I was going to say. So that the day before that, because that was Sunday's game. The day before that, no, sorry, that was Saturday's game. My apologies. The day before that, you had Shock 3-0 Vancouver, Florida 3-0 Washington. Boston actually got a point on Dallas, which, again, I was surprised at. But then finished off with
was it Dallas or was it Atlanta?
It was Dallas. Atlanta 3-0'd Boston on Friday because they had a couple of games on Friday. But I mean, that was just kind of crazy to see some of the like scores of that. I know the San Francisco Vancouver. That was the fastest recorded time.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about a second ago. Yeah, it was record setting. It literally, the actual in-game time was less than 20 minutes. You could have actually missed the entire game, been watching the live stream, and during the halftime of a different match, you could go back, watch all of the gameplay, and then come back, and you would still have time on the clock before the second half started. It beat out the previous one by 3 minutes. The one that was just recently set, they blew it out by 3 minutes. It's insane.
And do you think that really kind of has to do with the fact that we're just really seeing more of these dominant teams in the top five, in the basically top five? They're really dominant in terms of like their performance. Like you really don't see a lot of middle ground. You see really just terrible teams, and then you see really like excel teams.
Specifically about the Titans, I don't necessarily think that's the case. The Titans, they're still playing on like 200 ping across different continents. They are getting better. But you can't come close to what the Shock are doing. It's just a talent and a time differential is honestly the biggest thing. No. What I think it is with them was just a power differential. With North America as a whole, and even with the APAC region, I think you're right. There's like a clear, well, maybe not with APAC anymore. 2 weeks ago, yeah, but with North America, there's Fusion, Shock, Mayhem, kinda, and the Paris Eternal that are all at the top, and then you have everyone else. Like the only things that are locked in stone are the top teams and like the top 3 teams and the bottom 3 teams. Everything else is just a toss up.
And yeah, yeah, and I would say you do got a lot of teams that are in the in contention to play, but the thing that I was very surprised at was seeing Gladiators, almost take out Philly, but then get 3-0'd by Paris the following day. So
yeah, and there's been some people that are reading into that. What Paris did, this means that they're a cut above the Fusion. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think it was more about shutting down Cavester. And Paris got to see Fusion do that the day before. So they were able to roll in with the game plan of shut down Cavester. So I don't know how much I would read into it. What I do know is that the Paris Eternal are without a doubt top 2, top 3 at the least in North America. And I just think it also shows off. I mean, look at how freaking what is it? Uneven Gladiators' performance has been. They haven't been consistent. That's what I was looking for. They've been very inconsistent. But I mean, we're getting that over in the APAC region too. I mean, right. One day Seoul's the best team in Asia, and the next day they're getting 3-0'd by London. It's equally as confusing over there.
Well, I mean, it's hard.
So
it's hard.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to kind of determine like who's the best over there when you only have 6 teams. So I mean,
7 teams.
7 teams. Excuse me. Sorry, 7 teams.
No, it's real easy. It's real easy. It's Shanghai, and if it's not Shanghai, it's Guangzhou. Like that's it. Like there's no argument about that.
No,
I mean, New York.
No argument about that. I mean, New
York
I don't think doesn't even belong there, but whatever. I'm not gonna get into that argument.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into that. Cowards. No. But I mean, over in APAC, you got a similar situation. Not as clear cut as it was like a week ago, but where you have Shanghai and the Guangzhou, and then you have whatever. And I think part of that is because of the lack of consistency. And I don't really know what it is. My instinct to say it's coaching. Like the coach, a lot of the coaches they haven't built a system that is capable of adapting. At least not as often as they've had to adapt this season. Whereas you have teams like Shock who have, if there's a system, there's this B system. And you've got people like the Fusion who just feed off chaos. And then the Eternal, for that matter. The Eternal, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they had their GM used to be at Shock. A lot of their team XC, I think been best, but they all a bunch of them used to be on the same team together, and their coach has been with them for years. So I mean, this allows you to develop an actual culture in the team, a culture of winning. Whereas a lot of these teams, Titans are a perfect example. You can't just throw together talent and expect it to work. Hangzhou Spark are the same way. They've been underperforming according to all the analysts, but I don't know. This past weekend was like an entertaining game for the wrong reasons in the Shock and the Titans, and then there were like 2 good games, and then the rest just was kind of boring.
Yeah, this weekend definitely felt a little bit kind of, I would say, stagnant, or a little bit reminded me when GOATS was the thing, when everybody was just mirror images, and one person just got slapped and the other team didn't. It wasn't...
well, I mean, in terms of the score lines, I agree with you. I mean, I do think we're still seeing lots of interesting compositions.
Yeah. Oh no, I would say competition wise is a lot better. But yeah, the definitely a lot of 3-0s this weekend though. But you did mention one thing that I wanted to bring up, the whole Vancouver situation, which kind of leads me segues into what I want to talk about. What the hell should Boston do at this point? Because Boston is, and I was looking up the scores and I could not believe it. Boston is literally 41 games behind like the top thing.
Are we doing it like baseball now? We're talking about games behind.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, games behind. Yeah, and it's crazy though because here's my 2 cents onto it. Why the only thing I can think that Boston could do at this point to even remotely remotely come back into the season or have a chance of even getting into, well, besides the fact that everyone gets to play, get a good seeding into the playoffs.
The playoffs. Yeah. Boston knew that right. They've been sandbagging for the playoffs. That's been their whole scheme.
But here's the thing, though. Why are they sandbagging? Because this isn't football. This isn't pro sport. This is pro sports. This isn't like baseball or basketball where you could just tank for like the first round draft pick. There's no first round draft pick. And in fact, here's the thing. What are you doing with all of your talent? You're trading off people like, Aim God, Gamzu. You're just for freaking peanuts. So, at this point, here's what I think.
Peanuts. For money.
For money. For what money, though? They're not spending that money to acquire that good of a talent. Okay, Jerry is an okay pick. I don't think he was.
I'm telling you, dude. Kraft is just using this as a money farm so he can buy hookers down in the Caribbean. That's all this is.
You heard it first here, Chad. when that breaks on TMC, you heard it right here, folks, Chad.
Yeah, that's all it is. Boston Uprising is being used as a money laundering front for Robert Kraft.
I mean, at this point, they probably would have a better success rate than what they're doing right now. I mean, Jerry's an okay player. He's not, an amazing talent. He's not a game changer. He's shown.
I'd say he's a good mid-tier DPS hit scan DPS.
Good mid-tier DPS. And you got the rest of the players on the team that are decent. Punk's okay. He's shown some light onto it. And I forget the other guy. I gotta pull up the roster. That's the thing. It's like half the time I forget the roster. That's how
We got Fusion's his main tank. Punk's off.
Fusion's doing
okay.
Jerry,
you got Color Hex. No, Fusion's is always decent. Yeah. I mean, again, it's odd because you look at Boston's roster and their individual people, and you're like, this team should be better. Okay. Like, I don't think that anyone for a second believes that Boston should be like a contender or something.
Oh, yeah.
But, you would think that they'd be, I don't know, making it competitive. Because let's be honest, most of the time you watch Boston games and you're just like, man, this is depressing.
I mean, it's pretty depressing to watch it. But, I mean, should Boston pull a Vancouver Titans and just get rid of everybody, including the staff? Because I don't think the coaches and staff.
With their talent?
Do you think?
Are you talking about in general or just with their players?
I'm talking just blow up the organization. Pull
the whole thing.
Pull a Washington Redskins and just call them Boston Overwatch team.
Boston Overwatch team. No, I don't think we need to throw. I don't think we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Okay.
I think. I do think that the players. There's no reason to get rid of the players unless you already have on deck more players to replace them. I don't unless they're just going to pick up a contenders team, which is an option. Unless they're just going to pick up a whole contenders team, I don't think there's a reason to get rid of the players. There's nothing wrong with the players. I think the problem is with the mentality and the culture at the Uprising. The coaches don't. I don't think the coaches or the staff are doing.
I don't think they care
what they need to do.
I straight up think
I don't
they
even know
don't
if
care.
It's about not caring. Well, I mean, I understand how you can come to that conclusion. And you know what? It could be, but I don't even know if it's about not. I mean, let me talk about this one because I don't even know if it's about not caring.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's just that they're just in a fugue state. I mean, you're what, 2-16? And you get to the point in the season where you're just like, yeah, let's go out there and try. Let's they're defeated. Like they're defeated.
I mean, but come up with something, like do something crazy. I mean, at this point, it's like you can't go any worse.
No. The answer is not. No. The answer is not to do something crazy. The answer is to do something better.
I'm saying, try something different. Play characters. Play some of the people that aren't being played right now, because you know what, you don't have anywhere else to go at this point. You might as well throw somebody, a curveball, coming out with a Sombra or something, at a point.
So we're talking about the Chengdu.
Okay, so because that leads to.
We're not going to jump into that. We're not going to jump into that.
We can.
We're not jumping into. No. We're not jumping into the Chengdu Zone. That's for later.
Okay, that's for later. Okay.
You're essentially saying that what you want to see happen, and correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying is that you want to see them basically, even if it's off kilter, off meta stuff, to try something to shape the matches to win.
Yeah, because basically what they're doing right now is they're trying to make something work. They're trying to go see what, works with every other team, and they're trying to make it work. I want to go back to,
They're trying to play the meta, is what you're saying.
They're trying to play the meta. And, it's not working for them because they don't have players like Aim God. They don't have, they don't have players like Aim God. They don't have Tuba. They don't have these.
I don't think it's about players, man.
But the thing is that.
It's about.
Okay, so if you are. Okay, let's put this in perspective. Football. You have. Oh, hold on. I'm trying to think of a good quarterback here. You have Dak Prescott on your team. Tom Brady. No, I mean Tom Brady did the fucked off to Tampa. We're at.
All right.
Prescott. Dak Prescott on your team. You're the Cowboys owner. Well, no, this is a terrible analogy because they just paid him more money, for mediocre shit. They paid him.
No, I don't think. Listen, we don't need to equate it to meat sports. Quite
okay, all right.
But the thing is that coordination in a team is not something that is usually part of a player's raw skill base, right?
Right.
Coordination is something you teach. It's something you train on. And for that, you do need shot callers. And of course, you don't know the calling structure of Boston Uprising. It could don't have one or two really good shot callers on the team. But that doesn't mean that the current players are bad. It just means you need to get someone who's a good shot caller. Right. Assuming that they do have people calling shots and doing so halfway decently, the problem is having a plan, coordination, which of course to me brings up what the hell are they doing in sprints? How are they being trained? What's being discussed during VOD reviews? Are VOD reviews even happening?
Yeah.
Because I'm serious, because the level of the lack of coordination that we're seeing is appalling. That's why you have people in contenders who talk about how they scrim owl teams, not using any names, and they pin them in spawn. And everyone's like, oh, we don't know what team it is. Well, it wasn't the Shock. And it wasn't Shanghai. Yep. So, I mean, assuming that it's a team like Boston, what's the reason? Why is a contenders team pinning an owl team in spawn? It's because the owl team isn't coordinated. They're not working together. They don't have a plan. And that comes down to the environment that they're in and the coaching. And a lot of people will undermine the coaching. Like, oh, coaching in esports is not that big a deal. But no, it's about building a system. It's about building a structure. That's why Krusty is so successful. And quite frankly, I agree with Jaws about this. Most of the coaches in OWL are terrible because they're not good coaches. They're usually people who were decent players. But good players do not always make good coaches.
Right. Yeah.
To draw an analogy to meat sports, it's why Duke's coach, who never played basketball, is like the most successful basketball coach ever. And that's part of the problem. Is good players do not always make good coaches, and it is. I mean, it's like Kodak. Like Kodak is moving to being a coach now with his organization.
Yep.
Why?
Why? Yeah. Why?
I mean, maybe he is a good coach. Maybe he's going to make some impacts on the team that he wasn't able to do as a player. But yeah, no, good good players do not have good coaches. And the problem is a lack of coordination, a lack of having a plan. It feels like the Boston Uprising are already signed when they jump into the lobby. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's never a moment from them where I feel like they think they can win. And I think that changed a little bit when they brought in Punk, because he's, an injection of a fresh personality, shakes things up. He doesn't have that same defeated state. But I feel like they just slumped right back down in there.
Yeah, and I agree with that. When Punk came on the team, there was a little bit of enthusiasm. There was a little bit of a encouragement. There was a little bit of what's the word? Hope. That's the word I'm looking for. Positive. Yeah.
The most dangerous of things.
The most dangerous of things. Yes, exactly. So I mean, there was a little bit of just positivity, all that fun stuff. But now it's just like, what do we do from here?
If it were me, like if I was GM of Boston, though.
Okay.
Well, first off, I'd know if I was the GM of Boston. But if I was the GM of Boston, I would completely clear out all the staff, all the coaches, clear them out. Start it from the ground up. I don't think you need to do that to the players. The players have been playing together for enough time that you can make something of this. Naturally, you want to make better acquisitions. So you need to pursue someone who's a shot caller. You need to see if you can pick up higher quality DPS. Because again, we all love Jerry, but if you, I'm serious. Who would you take, Jerry or DM?
I mean,
and DM again. DM's a phenomenal player. Is he the best DPS in the league? No, I don't think so. But he's phenomenal. If you or Decay even, who is one of the best DPS. If you can pick up a better DPS line or a better support line, I would say go for it. Except for maybe Malbone, he's pretty good. Yes, I think there are adjustments that need to happen to player roster, but I think it's about the environment that the Uprising team currently has. That's what has they have a losing mentality. They have a losing mentality. They have a defeated mentality. Mm-hmm. Even if they don't actively think it, it comes through in interviews. It comes through in their play style. So that's just me.
And it even comes through their tweets. I think Fusions actually is he's one of the more vocal ones on.
Yeah, I follow Fusions on Twitter.
And he just, I think he stopped actually just saying this, hey, sorry for losing, blah, blah, blah. Like, you could just tell he's just like, I feel bad, for him because he's just such a nice guy. I feel bad for the
guys.
He's such a nice guy, but he's just, his team's shit. I mean, it's like,
Christ, I see what the losses do to you. I can't imagine what it does to them.
Yeah.
It's demoralizing. And when it's hard building morale, no matter if it's a sport team, a company, whatever. Building morale is one of the most important, but also one of the hardest things to do. And I mean, all I know is that this season for Boston is done. Done.
Yeah, that's done.
Pull them up, smoke them. They might as well just forfeit before they even get in matches at this point. But they need to make a lot of adjustments in the offseason.
And I think actually they do have. I was taking a look at their next upcoming schedule, and we actually joked about that because I was like, what they're gonna forfeit the next matches. Oh, why would they do that? They are not scheduled to go on until they're not scheduled to go on until the 15th. Going up against the Gladiators again.
Countdown Cup.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the Countdown Cup. But yeah, they're not scheduled to go up against the Gladiators. And then Vancouver is in the last game before the actual playoffs start. So, yeah.
Well, the Countdown Cup, you mean? Because I don't think the playoffs.
No, the playoffs. So the Countdown Cup, they haven't posted who's going to be on the Countdown Cup yet. But no, this is after the Countdown Cup.
Okay. You're just talking about after the Cup. Okay, yeah. After the Cup. Gotcha. All right.
And I just realized we just started a Overwatch League podcast when there's only 3 weeks left in the season. So yeah, this is great. We can plan that out.
We're going to talk about things other than Overwatch. It'll be fun. We're going to talk about Overwatch every single episode. That's not all we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about AI, philosophy. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But no, I think I'm good on Boston. And unless there's anything else you want to talk about, I just think they need to make major postseason or off-season adjustments.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely need to do like some major off-season adjustments, and who knows, maybe Bill Belichick will retire and coach the Boston Uprising.
I think Washington's got a head start on them. I'm just saying, Washington in the middle of the season. I'm not justifying the way their organization handled what they did.
Right.
But I mean, kudos to DC for saying we're going to make a change. We're going to do it now, and if it screws the rest of the season, fine. But we're going to be back better next season. And it sucks to see an organization say, "Hey, yeah, we're building for next season," when you're in the middle of the current one. But there's also a certain element that I would say that takes courage to be able to just be like, "Nope, we're just going to reset it now, and we're going to change." Again, they could have handled it better. I think the way they treated some of their former employees was not good, to say the least. But anyway, I'm good on Boston. You good?
Yeah, I think we beat this dead horse, so to speak. So
more like it.
Yeah, pretty much. So
transitioning into the Philly thing.
Yeah.
Talking about that Philly game. I think it's interesting. First off, Kvester's an actual madman. He's still playing on 200 ping. I'm serious. The man's still playing on 200 ping, and he's going sicko mode to steal a line from Bren. It's insane. We, as in the Fusion, tried to play meta against the Gladiators, tried to basically go head to head with them, and we tried to do that with them in what is really their meta. I don't think that, and this is so typical of Fusion. We did not go in the game with a plan. I don't feel like Fusion rolled in with a plan. Say, okay, here's how we're going to attack this. This is what we're going to do. They went, yeah, okay, we're playing the Gladiators. Pick your main. Let's go. Philadelphia too often relies on their raw mechanical skill to carry them. And more often than not, it does. It's why we have one of the best records in the league right now. But you need to have a plan. And I love the adaptation that we saw, right? Halfway through the game, you're down 2-0. They come back playing something completely different, playing a Sombra comp, right. And which the whole idea was shut down Kavester. That was the whole thing. Right. And I love that all the players were joking about it, like, oh yeah, with Plan B. They never practiced that comp. Apparently they talked about that comp, but they never actually practiced it. So the fact that they could just jump to it and smash is awesome. And I think it really shows the skill and the talent on the team. And I'm glad that there was at least a backup plan, unlike that shot game. So, kudos to them for that. But it is damaging to have to reverse sweep a team like the Gladiators, because the Gladiators.
Guess who? I was gonna say, guess who won against the Gladiators?
No one cares about Boston.
I'm just saying, Boston handed them one of their losses this season. So
one of their losses. No, one of the losses only, I think, is what you were going for. But yeah, by the way, that's a great statistical anomaly. If you're listening and you don't know, the Gladiators have never beaten Boston.
Yes.
3 seasons, never beaten Boston.
Never have beaten Boston.
I think that's hysterical.
Which, I don't know. We're just the.
At least that's one thing you're undefeated in.
Yeah, that's hey, no, we had that undefeated stage when they were still doing stages.
Oh yeah, the undefeated stage in stage 1. Yeah, what was that, stage 3?
That was stage.
I think it was stage 3, wasn't it?
That was first. Yeah, that was first season, stage 3.
I think it was stage 3.
We went undefeated and we got clapped by London.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, it was a 10-game winning streak. It was pretty hot. The Valiant did something similar here. but we're getting a little off topic.
Yeah.
The Philly, the situation with Philly, I'm glad that they came back out and smashed their next game. Thank God. But it damages, us in power rankings. It damages how people view us because it'll consistently be what Bren categorizes it as, what Josh and what Mr. X say, and that's that Philadelphia is a team. It's always a threat, and they're always right there, always right on the cusp, which drives me insane because we have constantly been. I'm serious. We're constantly bridesmaids, never the bride, and it drives me insane because we should have a big fat dub by this point. If we're in a stage, dude, I'm telling you, that game against Paris, that was just such a clean shot. I mean, we had everything going for us going to that game, and so did Paris. I'm not taking anything away from Paris. It was a great, well-fought series. But you want to talk about lack of planning and a lack of coaching? What the fuck were we doing on control maps? It's just, I didn't understand. It's like, again, it was just like, I don't know if it's necessarily a lack of a plan or just a plan that's not fucking coherent. Because what happened, again, was Philadelphia didn't adapt. That was the weird thing. Like, you see this great adaptation with the Gladiators, but in the Paris game, they didn't adapt. They just kept running the same thing, and it wasn't working. They needed to change something, and I'm glad to see that kind of mid-game adaptation. But I don't know if they would have made that kind of adaptation if it was a championship game, because they would have been scared of taking the risk in a championship game. But if you're getting your ass handed to you, what's the difference? You're either going to pull the map out doing something different, or you're just going to lose doing the same thing again. So I don't think we should read too much into the Gladiators Philly game. I think it matters, and I think it's a nice little ding to Philadelphia. Always great to get that, but I don't think we should read too deeply into it. Kudos to the Glads for having a fun little meta for them, but that's over now, and we're going to go back to the real world where they're going to just get smashed.
Where they're going to get smashed, which brings me kind of to my next question though. Like, what is Philadelphia's game plan going forward? Because they did almost lose an embarrassing loss to the Gladiators. Their next, just looking up what they got coming up next.
And the next 3-0, to be fair, 3-0 their next match. But I think if we're talking about like what should their plan be in like the next meta, like next coming week, I see no reason why they shouldn't just run the meta. They're good enough to run the meta. We're not playing shot. See, that's the thing. The only thing I would say is we need to have a couple of backup plans if things go sideways, obviously. But I think if we run the meta, we'll be fine, considering who our opponents are.
Yeah. So coming up,
I don't think it's necessary to.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So coming up, to add to that, coming up, it's going to be Dallas going up against Philadelphia, and then it's going to be Philadelphia going up against Valorant as well too. So.
Valiant, you mean?
Valorant. Sorry. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
All Philadelphia teams taking on all of Valorant.
Taking on all of Valorant. Fuck that game.
I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing with Dallas. Does their DPS line carry?
No.
I mean, that's it. That's it. That's the whole thing with Dallas, right?
I mean,
and don't carry, because I think we are their equals in DPS at the very least, and we're better in every other position.
Yeah, I mean, who? I was gonna say who is like their DPS. I was just trying.
Doha, or
Doha.
The main two DPS are Decay and Doha.
Yeah, I was gonna say Doha. Yeah, Doha is probably the only one that can go up against it. But I mean, just looking at kind of the statistics.
And Gamsu's still main tank, right?
Gamsu is still Gamsu is still main tank.
Yeah, he's still main tank for Dallas. Yeah. So the thing is that we're not playing Winston anymore, thank God, because I do love Sato on Winston, but I don't think that the team is necessarily that great at dive. I think we're okay at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, let's be real. What's the comp going to go back to? It's going to go back to Orisa Sigma, right? Orisa Sigma double shield will probably keep having Genji until Genji never come live, which they were released and then took it down. I don't know if you saw that, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But we're gonna have Genji until Genji buff or Genji nerfs come through, and once we have Genji nerfs, we'll see what happens. It's kind of up in the air.
Dude, Genji, I can't wait for the Genji nerf to come down. That's gonna be hilarious.
I disagree. I don't think they need to nerf Genji. We'll talk about it.
Okay, no. So yeah, no. We'll talk that we can take a whole podcast just for that right there.
Just for that. Yeah, for real.
We could just, but I guess while we're on the topic, because we are talking about we're taking a look forward. Let's kind of go into a little segment right here and go into kind of our predictions for the next week.
Well, wait. There is one thing I want to do before that.
Okay, we're gonna do that.
I do want to enter the zone, the Chengdu zone.
Okay, we're gonna go into this segment right here.
Yeah, I want to do the Chengdu zone
The
first
Chengdu
because
zone.
this impacts predictions. No, this impacts predictions for real.
All right, fair.
So the Chengdu Hunters have pulled out 2 very surprising wins this past week. I think the interesting thing is, does Chengdu continue to win? That's the big question. Because APAC's a mess, right? London's beating people. That never happens. Seoul's still losing like normal. I think New York is on an upswing right now.
Yeah, they definitely are, because at the beginning of the season, I know they're all everybody was like, "Oh, look at these losers," blah 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 blah, and they were losing a lot, but now they're on the up. That's for sure.
Let's not look at that. The thing is that New York has a very different play style than most, which is very slow, very defensive, which doesn't really fly in the current setup of Overwatch, which I think is why they struggled this season. But none of that matters when a giant hamster ball smashes your whole team and drags you down to the Chengdu zone. Because, let's be real. Chengdu is consistently one of the most fun teams to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Not always. Sometimes they pull out dumb shit. But, dude, I love watching Chengdu games because they're always going to do something that's interesting, entertaining, a weird take. And I'm not going to say it doesn't always. It rarely works, but it's fun to watch them. Jinmu on the Genji having absolutely horrible blades. They're a fun team, and I think because of that, people want Chengdu to win.
Yeah.
And I want Chengdu to win.
Because nobody wants to see mirror comps. No, and I get why they're doing the whole hero bans to kind of prevent mirror comps, because that's what it was. It was just straight mirror comp the entire time.
Well, I think the hero lists are better now than they were at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, no, the hero. Well, it wasn't being selected by a cat, but we're not going to get into that for the hero ban. So
that was great. Flawless system. It banned May.
It did ban May.
It's a flawless system.
It did ban May. We can give him that. That's for sure. But I love watching them play because they do just these things that you shouldn't be doing just for the hell of it. And
well, number one, they run ball.
Yeah,
they run aim on ball all the time.
Which ball, by the way, in Plat and Gold is the most obnoxious thing ever because nobody knows how to shoot in that Elo. So, that's
Don't
right.
Don't talk about Plat as if you're in Plat.
I am in Plat, actually. I did get up to Plat.
On what? On what role? On what role?
Open queue. Because I just.
in open queue. Get out of here.
Yeah, in open. Yes, in open queue. Got to Plat. Because you know what I did? Insta lock Soldier 76. Turned my mic off. Not listen to anybody. Just went to town because that's
lock legs, leave voice.
Yeah, lock legs, leave voice. Hashtag let's get this trending, guys. So, but seriously, lags. Seriously, that's gonna that should be our intro for this podcast. Just lags. So
no, please, no.
Please no. And like that, our podcast viewership just dropped. So
we had a viewership.
We had a viewership. Oh wow, yeah, no. You gotta start from the bottom, and now we're here. But go. I do like watching them play because of exactly that. Because they play these oddball type comps that shouldn't necessarily work, but sometimes
they almost never do.
I mean, they almost never do, but I mean, it's more entertaining than watching just a bunch of 3-0s with mirror comps.
Okay, it is better than a bunch of 3-0s. I don't agree with you that we've seen a bunch of mirror comps.
Okay.
Mirror comps are naturally going to occur as people discover the meta, but I think that we see enough different takes that it's interesting.
Okay, so weekly mirror comps.
I do want to. Okay, weekly mirror comps.
Yeah, because how many times Ashe has been played this entire season? Too many.
A lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Good character.
I know. Yeah.
Are you just mad because you're not good with her?
Actually, I'm getting better.
Are you?
Getting a little better. Yeah. It's called I just throw bobs all over the place. So.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, it's seventh man strategy. You can just bob basically to do anything. Cap the point, contest the point.
8-man strategy. 8-man strategy with Torbjorn. Remember, it's a dishonest comp according to the Gladiators.
Stop. But anyways, so I guess that brings us to predictions for next week. So
let's just run it from the top if you have the schedule.
Yeah, no, we got a shout out in chat though. Bob, do something. So that's pretty much all. That's pretty much it.
Do something.
Bob, do something. So okay, we got Dallas Fuel. Okay, no brainer. And by the way, folks that are in chat, we're gonna run down the list of the games that are gonna be played next this coming week. We want to hear your predictions as well too. So we got Dallas Fuel. What do you guys think? I'm gonna go with
Dallas Fuel versus who?
Oh, did I say Dallas Fuel? Yeah, Dallas versus Philadelphia. So Dallas.
That's Philly.
Yeah, Philly. That's why I didn't even mention, because I was like, I don't even need to mention it. I just assumed Dallas, Philly, Philly.
Dallas, Philly. I do think Philly takes it. We just have a more talented comp. We're more coordinated than they are.
I mean, you don't even need to explain this.
Also,
it's Philly.
Well, no, I think it's important though, because like we said earlier, Decay and Doha can clutch, but we have equally clutch players, so I think it eliminates that factor.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so we got Valorant, Houston.
Valiant.
I keep saying that. You know what it is? That's the next podcast.
Valorant, you're not good at it?
That's the next podcast.
No, we're not doing Valorant.
Okay, LA, Houston. What do you think?
You see, this is actually kind of an interesting one because, I mean, I know Houston doesn't have the record to really showcase it, but I don't know. Houston, unless it's like a top 3 team, Houston could always upset this. I mean, Linkster can pop off. I don't think that Houston's going to run Numa again. They'll probably put hydration back in.
You think?
I don't know. If you put a gun to my head, I'm going to go with Houston because I would love to see Houston win.
I think Houston, just because, I agree with you on the hydration pick. I think they're going to run hydration, but, just Miko does have better eliminations per 10 minutes over even their top DPS player. Their tank has better eliminations. Yeah. So, I don't know. You factor that in.
He's an off tank. He's an off tank, though.
He's an off tank, though.
No, he's an off tank, though.
Yeah, but
he's playing Sigma. He's just spamming damage. Of course, he's going to have more elimination
over their DPS players. He's doing better.
You realize that, like, I think no. You realize that out of like the top 5 people with the most eliminations this season, like 3 or 4 of them are off tanks. Like,
okay, fair.
I'm just saying. I think you're looking at the wrong stat there.
All right, just saying. Okay, well, I'm gonna go with Houston. I think Houston's gonna be a good solid pick as well too.
Yeah, okay, so we're agreed on that.
Chat agrees as well too. Houston. So we got Seoul versus your favorite team in the Asian division, the Charge.
My favorite team, Guangzhou Charge.
Yep.
Charge is not my favorite team just because Neptuno.
Okay.
Not just because Neptuno's on the team.
Not just
actually, I don't know if I have a favorite team
I think Apex is very interesting. But who do you think? Dynasty versus Charge?
I mean, well, first off, of course, it always depends on which Soul Dynasty shows up.
Yep.
And
I mean,
because we're going
classic.
back to a because we're going back to a full hero roster, I don't want to think Soul can't win this, but I don't think they're going to be charged. I don't.
I forgot about that. Yeah. So this is the last week that this last week was the last week that they did hero band. So they're going back to the full roster. So forgot about that. Yeah. So
yeah. So we're doing full roster this week and then full roster for the Countdown Cup. Yeah.
So I'm going to throw an oddball here, and I'm going to say Soul. And the only reason why I'm going to say Soul is because I think Soul really has suffered from the hero bans. I don't think they really have been able to kind of come up with this.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think they have.
That they have come up with, or they suffered from the hero bans.
They have suffered from the hero bans.
So yeah, I
they
feel
suffered
like,
from the hero bans. No, that's the part I agree with.
Okay, yeah. So I feel like they suffered. So full roster. I think they'll be able to come out with something and actually be able to stay competitive with the Charge. Who again, the Charge is just coming up with things out of left field. So I'm gonna go with Soul on that one. So we'll see what happens.
Well, Chengdu's the one that comes out of things with stuff out of the left field. Charge is probably the second best team in APAC.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know both their names start with a C. And you're dyslexic, but please pay attention.
This is the totally uninformed Overwatch.
But no, but you're right.
Yeah.
Well, 50% informed.
50% of that.
But,
he's the analyst. I'm just the face.
I think Soul has the potential.
Yeah.
Soul, okay, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I think Soul has a chance. I do. I agree with you.
All right. I think they got a chance. So yeah, Chad agrees with that. Dynasty
got up next after that?
on that. So we got Spitfire, Spark. What do you think?
Man,
that's gonna be a toss-up.
You look at it and you look at the teams and you think, I think it's gonna be a toss-up. But I mean, Spark has just been so fucking trash lately. Like, I mean, I don't know. I think they've been trash. I want to pick Spark, but I'm going to go with London. I don't think I can, in good conscience, pick Spark.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think just kind of looking at, Architect is, one of the better DPS players in that division, in my opinion. Just because I think he can, he can stand. He can stand on his own. So, I don't know. I'm going to be an oddball and say Spark. I'm going to say Spark's going to, pull an upset over this.
I don't think it's oddball. I just think it's a toss-up.
Yeah, I think it's a toss-up, but I think it's going to be a close match. I think it's going to go full distance, 3-2. Spark's going to win it in the end.
That'd be cool. I would like that.
Yeah. Let's watch that game like we tried to do the other time. You told me to, wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and watch this.
The game starts at 6.
Wait, actually, no. That starts at. Is that Pacific time? I think that's
6.
Okay.
No, Eastern time. It's listed. I'm looking at it now. It's listed in my time.
Oh.
But anyway, we can move on. Shanghai versus New York.
Yeah. I was gonna say, wake up to Overwatch. Look at that. Shanghai versus New York. Shanghai.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't think. No. You can't be that dismissive about it. Listen, do I think Shanghai's going to win? Absolutely, but you can't be that dismissive about it. New York New York is doing well.
What are you dismissing? Okay, all right.
You're dismissing New York. Like, New York has had a good couple of weeks.
Okay.
Now, how that holds up in a full hero list, I don't know. But this has the potential to be one of, if not the best games of the week.
Yeah.
This could be a really, really good match. But I agree, Shanghai.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to pick Shanghai as well, too. But I think, I agree with you, though. This would probably be one of the closest things we're going to get to, like the semifinals rematch of 2019?
Yeah.
2019. Yeah. I think because, you still got you got Jonak, one of the best, Zenyatta players. I would love to see Jonak just go nuts on Zenyatta. go classic
Not
Joe.
everyone would. The next game, though, I think is pretty cut and dry. Paris versus Washington. It's going to be Paris. Paris is going to roll out the double shield. They're going to crush it.
Yeah, see, you say this, but Tuba, though, has been going off. Tuba has been going off. Can we get a Tuba in the chat?
Don't do this.
Don't do this.
Listen, I know that we have personal and professional connections with people associated with the DCT. That's not true. We're just friends with Super Justice Guy.
We're friends with the Super Justice Guy, but
yeah, that's it. That's all we got. But no, don't do this though. Don't give Washington hope. If it was someone like Toronto, or if it was Houston, or even Dallas, I would say okay, maybe Washington can win. But no, Paris is going to fucking annihilate them.
Okay,
There's no question about it.
Okay, but I'd like to go back to our statement that we just said. Houston's going to be, L.A. Washington Justice beat Houston. So,
dude, that's not how it works.
that is
my
my
game.
That is my.
I mean, because under that logic, Philadelphia has beaten the Shock, but we haven't. So, because Paris beat the Shock, and beat Paris, so that's not how that works.
You heard it right here, Chad.
Houston had a lackluster game. Yeah, the transitive property. That's what we're learning.
Yeah.
Houston had a bad game. Washington popped off. That's why it happened.
Okay.
You cannot take that same thing. Washington had an upset game against one of the better mid-table teams and project that into them beating Paris. It's not happening. There's not a well, okay, that's not true. There is a universe where it happens, and that's where half of the Paris team fucking drop out of the match by accident and they don't pause. But it's gonna be Paris. And if you say Washington, I will hang up.
Hang up. All right. Well, you know what? I don't know if I want to keep you on this call, so I'm gonna say Philly. Philly. Paris. Sorry, I was looking at another stat. I'm gonna say.
You can't even read.
I was looking at another stat. God, like this is
like talking to a living papega.
It's like
the team or the city name has an associated letter,
Paris.
So I could use the two.
Paris.
Yes, Paris.
I'm gonna say Paris. But I'm secretly going to say Washington. Anyways, Toronto, Vancouver.
Dude, I'm rooting for Washington. But
Toronto, Vancouver,
Toronto,
Battle of Canada.
Vancouver, Battle of Canada. I think it could be an interesting game. I want Vancouver to win. I know I got a lot of people like Sherfor and some of the people on Toronto Defiant, but I would like Vancouver to win. It makes me happy when I see Vancouver win. I think they have the potential to beat.
I mean, I got a dumb question because I'm looking at some of the stats on Overwatch League and trying to look at some of the players, like comparison, and obviously Karkar has played, right?
Honestly, I don't remember that.
Yeah. Well, anyways. I'm gonna show this right here. Yeah, you can't see it. Whatever. But anyways, I'm looking at the just the roster, and nobody has scored any points. I think the app has glitched because nobody has any points on Vancouver, and I'm like, that is not right. So I can't really say.
That's just an issue.
That's just an issue. I'm just gonna throw it up, and I'm gonna say probably Toronto, just because Toronto has a better record right now. But
I think Toronto is a perfectly valid pick. I acknowledge that picking Vancouver is the underdog pick.
Oh yeah, underdog pick, that definitely for sure. So yeah, next game would be Houston versus San Francisco Shock.
Shock. Let's move on.
Shock. Move on. Next, chat also says Titans for the other one. Dallas. Atlanta.
Even dreams. Man, okay, this could be a good game. But I want Dallas to win, so I'm gonna pick Dallas.
Okay, yeah, you want Dallas to win. Okay, yeah. You know what? I think.
Well, no. If we're gonna be serious about it, Atlanta's performance this year has been lackluster, and I'm not saying Dallas's performance has been good,
Right.
but Dallas has clutch potential with Decay, and Atlanta. I mean, I know they have Edison, and I don't know. I think that Dallas is going to clutch it out just on the strength of their DPS line.
I think I'm gonna disagree with you, and I think that Atlanta is gonna pull it out, and here's why. I think that Dogman is a better support than Harry Hook. I'm gonna say that.
Wrong. Okay, he may be better than Harry Hook, but Okay, no. Okay, well, I started saying
wrong.
Before you finish your statement. He might be a better support than Harry Hook. Although is Harry Hook a flex support? I think he's a main support. Whatever.
Let me check real quick.
Dogman has not been living up to the hype this year. He hasn't been competing necessarily, to use his phrase, but he has not been living up to the hype. He's been okay. I love him. He's a great person to have on the team just for his character alone, but I don't think he's been doing all that great this year. And if we're going to be real, I think Atlanta probably has a better tank line than Dallas.
Yeah.
But I think that, again, it just comes back to people's DPS line. There's no way.
It comes back to his DPS line. And also, I don't know. I got a personal vendetta against, as I like to call, Boston West. But anyways, so we're just gonna go with that.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Glad's, Florida.
I can't call them the Florida McDonald's anymore, which is really bad.
You can't. They're now the Florida Racers.
The Florida Race. This one should be interesting because you got BQB. Florida came out of nowhere with that last playoffs that they did. Wrong. What do you mean wrong?
Tedester is brilliant. We all know it.
Okay.
But Gladiators had a meta that benefited their players. Now we are going back, and you know what's going to kill the Gladiators? It's real simple. She has 4 legs, and nobody likes her. It's giant horse lady Orisa.
Yes.
Orisa is going to screw any plans that the Gladiators may have had, and no, Florida's going to beat them to that. Now, I hope that it isn't a 3-0. I would like for the Glads to make it interesting and pick up a map. But nah, Florida's got it.
Florida's got it. Yeah. I think that Gladiators, can. I think this one's probably going to be the game to watch, honestly. I think this one's going to be
really because of the upset potential?
I think not only the upset potential, but also I think this one's going to be extremely competitive in terms of this because you got all these big name players, Big Goose and stuff like that, which Big Goose didn't really do that well against Boston.
Big Goose
Bird Ring though. Bird Ring though.
Shaz.
Yeah, Shaz.
Shaq is a different player.
Shaq. You're thinking Shaq.
Shaq's. No, I'm thinking about Shaq's on Shock.
Okay.
It's like the KSF.
Okay.
Crap. But Shaz, Big Goose and Shaz are a great support
line.
But
who's screwing things up now?
Actual Papega take. No. This is a Papega take. This is like a Brennan Hook coming out of nowhere take. Like, I don't know where you think this is going to be competitive.
I don't know. Their performance against Philadelphia. I'm
telling you. All right.
The performance against Philadelphia. I know you said don't read into this. But the performance against Philadelphia, I think that does have a little bit of weight, and stuff like that. These players are confident.
And then they got reverse swept.
They got swagger. Yeah, you got reverse swept.
No, they got reverse swept.
By the best team, one of the best teams in Overwatch right now. Like, the fact that you put them in the corner, you put Baby in a corner. I'm just saying that. They got some swagger going on.
We're going to disagree on this one.
Okay, we're going to fight. Chat, what are you guys thinking right now? Chat, what are you
I'm not
thinking?
going to fight. I don't hit little girls.
Damn.
Got him.
Got it.
I know we already talked about it. A little bit earlier, but Philadelphia Valiant. What do you think?
Philly. I mean, I don't think LA can put up. You notice how I'm saying LA now, so don't screw up. But I don't think LA.
Which LA? LA Gladiators?
Yeah, shut up.
All right, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't think the Valiant. There you go. I don't think they have the muster to be able to compete at Fusion's level. I think that Fusion has learned from their mistake against the Gladiators, and they aren't going to put themselves in a position to go where they have to dig themselves out of the hole. I think that they're going to come out.
We hope so, but it is the Fusion, and Game 5 is in their blood. However, I don't think you're wrong. I think if we were talking, a month ago,
right,
6 weeks ago, Valiant would have done great, and I would be a little bit worried. I still think Valiant can make it close, but I don't know what's going on with Valiant. Like, I don't know if they're having internal issues or what, but they just haven't seemed to be all there here lately.
Yeah.
And it sucks, too, because they went on a really hot streak there for like 2 months almost.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's kind of the interesting thing. Like, you don't really hear a lot about them. Like, they're kind of just there. They are kind of they are definitely in the top 5, I would think.
No, I don't think they're top 5. I think they're mid-table. I think Dallas is number 5.
Okay, so top 5, what are we talking? We got Paris, Philly,
Shock,
Florida,
and
then Dallas. Okay,
so obviously not in that order. If we're going to put it in that order, it's like Shock or Paris, then Philly, then Florida. And then I think Dallas is number 5 right now.
I think, LA could definitely get into the top, definitely can get into that top 5. But you don't really hear a lot about them. They don't really have like explosive players.
Well, I think it's because they've been playing like poo-poo lately. That's why.
That's true.
You haven't been hearing much about Valiant because they've been playing like poo.
I mean,
maybe they just stopped inting.
I mean, yeah, I do love the fact that everybody's like, oh wow, they're just getting in a rhythm, and it's like midway through the season. It's like the friggin' West Coast teams didn't even play.
It's like 3/4 of the way through the season.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, 3/4 of the season. Yeah, it was like the friggin' West Coast teams didn't play until halfway through the season, anyways. But whatever, I'm not gonna point anything out here.
Now, of course, after the Valiant game, they will have the play-in game for the Countdown Cup. We don't know who exactly is going to be there yet. We do have the standings. I mean, it'll probably be Boston and someone else.
It'll probably Boston getting shit canned by somebody else. Let's be 100% honest.
Probably. I don't have the standings right here with me, but I'm sure it'll be Boston.
I mean,
I don't think it's going to be Washington.
Well, let's look who would be potential. It would be either Washington or Vancouver.
Yeah, I just don't have it up right now.
No, I got it.
Washington just won a game, right?
Well, Washington is just above Boston.
Well, yeah, in overall rankings, but we're talking about for the Countdown Cup.
Oh, hold on. For the Countdown Cup, well, hold on. Let me take a look.
Yeah, those are separate standings, man.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, they don't have that listed here.
Okay, it's not a big deal. I could pull it up if I went to the video, but it's not a big deal. Yeah. Whoever plays Boston will probably beat Boston, though. Let's be honest.
Boston versus nameless Boston. Listen, I'm gonna go.
I just think it's Boston versus a contender team. The contender team wins. Sorry, bro, I just have no confidence.
Bro, did you hear about that Platt player that I cannot find the article. I saw it in my feed today and I wish I saved it, but there was a Platt player that got called up to reserves for a contender team, like an emergency situation. He got called up and stuff, and he fucking destroyed everybody. It was great.
Hey, Platt's.
So
you too can go pro, you little plat goblins.
You little plat goblins. Oh, Jesus Christ. On that note, probably that would be a great way to end this first podcast, actually, which...
A little positivity. Plats can make it too.
Plats can make it too. So, Millennius, do you want to plug your sociables? You only have one.
My sociables. So there are these great sociables I have of delicious crackers at parties. No, if you're interested, follow me on Twitter. I'm at Admiral Cynicism, and my display name is Milienius. If you do have Discord, you can also find me on there. I'm usually lurking in the Vice and Virtue chat, harassing them. Shout out to all the guys at Vice and Virtue. But yeah, just the Twitter, because I don't want you looking at my pretty pictures. I have an OnlyFans for that.
Have an OnlyFans. We haven't even gotten one download of our podcast, and you're already plugging your OnlyFans. Yeah, so
I'll do anything for a clawback bar.
I'll do anything for that. Yeah. So again, my name's Mckittens. You guys can follow me at the Mckittens on Twitter, Po Mckittens on Instagram. You can also follow me at mckittens.tv on Facebook as well too. Again, this is something that we're going to be doing on a weekly basis, actually. So you could watch this recording or this stream being recorded live, every Wednesday at 8:00 Eastern. But before we go, we actually do have a chat question here. Question maybe next time. How much do you guys think the remote play this year, because of social distancing, instead of playing in front of stadium? Yeah, blah blah blah. I'm just reading right now. So actually, you know what?
How much did remote play affect things? I think that is actually a really good topic for us to discuss before the countdown cut begins.
Yeah.
So I would love to actually take the time to dive deep into that for next time. I think that's a great question.
Yeah. So yeah, great question. Let's save that for next time. What you guys can tune into the live stream actually on mckittens.tv at 8:00 Eastern Wednesdays. But that being said, this has been the first inaugural podcast of victory and defeat, which apparently I just get a lot of defeats whenever I play competitive. So, because
thanks for joining us, guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah. And next week, Millennius is going to have an actual, Wi-Fi connection. So he's going to have a lot better quality.
Tune in next time to find out.
All right. Y'all have a good one.